Alright, greetings. This is the Crunchy Fed, and today I will be doing part one of the first of the two videos I'll be uploading today, and this is part one of what if female deku was Obsidian Fury. Now, for those of you who do not know, Obsidian Fury was the name of a Jaeger from Pacific Rim Uprising, which had a which had a organic brain in it. So that's sort of like going to be the plot line that I'll be doing for this. There will be no ship, and another thing, there will be no ship in this what if. So let us alright, so with that out of the way, let us continue. So we start off with with her construction. And yes, she is not born, she is built. So this sort of takes place in the same universe as Pacific Rim. This takes place a couple hundred years after Pacific Rim, so they still have a few kaiju brains left in storage. And the aliens that have been controlling the kaijus are dead at this point, so there's no need to worry about that. So they decide. So Hizashi, who is a scientist in this one, decides to start a project to sort of like recreate Obsidian Fury, but to a human scale. So for the next 18 years, he will be building Obsidian Fury. Hold on, give me a minute. Sorry about that. So for the next 18 years, Hizashi will be building a project called Project Obsidian Fury. Now, he stated to the Japanese government that she could be used as a form of home defense, or could possibly be a candidate for the hero program due to her having a organic brain. As the Japanese government discuss this over the next couple of days, as they then give Hizashi the thumbs up to begin the project. As he would begin to collect parts in order to build her, and was given a portion of a kaiju brain. Because, as we all know, kaiju brains are like half the size of a human body, so trying to figure out so they only gave him a piece of a kaiju brain. Actually, no, scratch that. They actually had it sized down. So it's big enough to fit into her head socket. So Hizashi gets that, but the body isn't built yet, so they only have the upper half ready, so they don't have the legs, the legs prepared. So it's just the upper half. As she basically has everything Obsidian Fury has, including the signal disruptors on her back, the missile launchers, and the chainsaw blades, including the claws that you see right here. As another couple of years go by, it's the 18-year mark on Project Obsidian Fury, as they've basically finished construction on her. They just need to implant the brain. So, as they are implanting the brain, the base is attacked by a militia organization wanting to take this project for themselves. Now, this is the group that Wolfram is a part of. So Wolfram is basically heading this, and this is all on Island. As Now, this does take place during the events of the movie, since I'll put all the events later on, so like the USJ and all that is going to happen a lot later. So they're currently on Island right now. With Hazashi being heavily injured during this event, as just as Wolfram's group gets into the construction facility, the kaiju brain has been input into her head, as orange lights would begin to pop up all over her body, as a robotic male voice would come over the intercom and say, Project Obsidian Fury online. As her eyes begin to open, as she begins to look around, with Hazashi still being up, like conscious, as Izumi would ask, "What is my primary directive?" As Hazashi would say, "Stop those villains by any means necessary." With Izumi, that will be her name, and Obsidian Fury will be what Hazashi calls her. But whenever they're in public, he will call her Izumi. With Izumi stating affirmative, as she would then state, lethal implements engaged, as 2 blades would pop out from where her wrists are, as they would begin to rotate, with Wolfram yelling at them to open fire on her. As the bullets do hit her, but they're basically ricocheting off of her shell. As she ends up approaching one of the villains, as she is basically slashing at them with her chainsaw blades, as when one of them tries to go for a sneak attack, she lets out an electric pulse from her back, which is sort of like the signal disruption that she has, but it more or less lets out a static and electrical burst, as this ends up zapping the villain that was trying to attack her from behind and sends him into the wall. As Wolfram then begins to use his quirk, as a large metal column would be coming towards Obsidian Fury, with her shoulder pads lifting up, like you see in the image right here, as missiles would begin to fly out, basically taking out the columns. As Wolfram would try to call for help through his communicator, with Izumi then using the signal disruption, which not only disrupts Wolfram's signal, but all the signals on the island, so the security robots are also shut off, as every form of communication on the island is offline while the spinal plates are moving. As she would then dash towards Wolfram with the chainsaw blades spinning, as she would perform one quick slash on Wolfram as he would drop to the ground. Now, he's not really dead, but he is fatally injured. Like, he has a massive gash on his chest where the chainsaw blade struck. As all of his other teammates would either be dead, or they'd be injured minorly to fatally. As he would then call for a retreat, as he'd say, "Do not leave. Those of you who can walk, leave the rest of them behind." As he would begin to leave, on the helicopter, with All Might seeing that Wolfram was making his getaway before he sees a missile go. Hold on, give me a minute. Sorry about that. As All Might would witness a missile fly towards the helicopter, which would cause it to explode. As the wreckage of what was once a helicopter would crash into the ocean, as it would then sink. With Izumi then with Sadashi asking for help to get out of the rubble, is Obsidian. Actually, hold on, give me a minute. I can't speak today. Hisashi would ask Obsidian Fury to help him out from the rubble, with Izumi then disabling her lethal implements, as she would then help Hisashi up from the rubble. Once she helped Hisashi up, she would ask, "Who are you to me?" in like a very cold voice, as Hisashi would say, "Well, I'm technically your father." Now, I'm just going to say this right now. In this timeline, Inko is dead. Now, I'm sorry for those of you who love Inko, but she is dead in this timeline. She died from sickness, and since Sadashi didn't have any kids, he sort of built Obsidian Fury not only to protect Japan, but to sort of like fill that hole that was left in him. As Izumi would say, "So you are my father. Then what is my name?" As Hisashi would say, "Well, your project name was Obsidian Fury, but your name is Izumi Midoriya." As she would then say, "Izumi Midoriya. That's actually quite a nice name." As a smile would come across her face, as Hisashi would think to himself, "I didn't think the Kaiju brain would bring about this. This is quite interesting." As she would say, as Izumi would then ask, "Do you require medical assistance, father?" With Hisashi saying, "Yeah, I think you should take me to medical staff that are on the island." As she basically turned off her signal disruptors at this point, and by this time Melissa has already disabled all the robots on the island. As Hisashi would be brought out from the construction facility, as All Might had witnessed the missile that had come from there, and assumed that it came from a weapon that Hisashi had designed. As All Might would walk up to Hisashi and say, "Hisashi, what was that?" As Hisashi would try to play dumb and say, "What was what?" As All Might would then ask, "The missile that came out of that construction facility, I saw it. It hit a helicopter that villain was escaping from, and it crashed into the ocean." With All Might then looking down to see Izumi carrying Hisashi, like sort of like holding him up to stabilize him because he did injure his leg. As All Might would then ask, "Who is this?" Hold on, give me a minute. Sorry about that. As All Might would ask, "Who is this girl, the young girl right here?" As Hisashi would say, "This is the project I've been working on for the past 18 years. And this is technically my daughter, Izumi, for project name Obsidian Fury." As All Might would say, "You mean like the rogue Jaeger that showed up a couple a couple years ago. Like, I don't know, I would say about it showed up 100 years ago. So My Hero Academia takes place 100 years after Pacific Rim Uprising. As she would say, well, yeah. We designed her to sort of be like a defense system for the entirety of Japan, and possibly a student and hero in the future. So am I saying, well, we do have an open slot. We do still have an open slot in Class 1A. Do you think that she can fill that role? With Hazashi saying that he thinks that she would be able to fill that role and go beyond plus ultra. And that's where the first part of this will end off. I will be uploading the next video today, later on, and I will see you next time. Now, do leave a comment on if you like the series and I should do it, or if you dislike the series and don't want me to continue it, or try to make it better. So I will see you guys later.